The rain hammered the tin roof of the old Brooklyn brownstone like 1,000 accusations, each drop echoing the fury Alex had swallowed for years. He burst through the door, soaked to the bone, his breath ragged from the sprint home, clutching a crumpled letter that burned hotter than the summer asphalt under his boots. "Mom," he choked out, voice cracking like thunder. "What the hell have you done?" Alex Rivera had always been the glue in his fractured family, the one who patched the leaks before the flood came rushing in. Born in the shadow of the Williamsburg Bridge, in a cramped apartment where the Hudson's salty tang mixed with the grease from corner bodegas, he'd grown up watching his mother, Elena, bend under the weight of 3 kids and a ghost of a husband who'd vanished when Alex was 6. Elena was a force, fiery Puerto Rican roots tangled with Irish stubbornness from her late ma, a nurse who pulled double shifts at Bellevue, her scrubs stained with other people's blood while her own dreams bled out on the kitchen table. She called Alex her little man, even when he towered over her at 15, and he'd worn that title like a crown of thorns, shouldering the load so she wouldn't break. By 28, Alex had traded his own ambitions for theirs. College dropout after sophomore year at NYU. Too many loans piling up like unpaid bills. He'd hustled into construction, swinging hammers on skyscrapers that pierced the Manhattan skyline. His calloused hands built fortunes for others, but the checks went straight to the family pot. Rent for the brownstone they'd scraped together to buy, tuition for his sister Maria's nursing school, braces for little brother Tommy's crooked grin. "You're the rock, Mijo?" Elena would say, pressing a plate of Eras con Gandals into his hands after a 14-hour shift, her eyes crinkling with that weary pride that made his chest ache. He never told her about the nights he lay awake, staring at the water stains on his ceiling, wondering if the man in the mirror was vanishing under the dust of his labor. It started innocently enough, the way these things do in New York, where serendipity hides in subway delays and coffee spills. Alex was nursing a black coffee at a hole-in-the-wall diner in Bushwick, the kind with Formica counters sticky from decades of spills, when Jamal Hayes slid into the booth across from him. Jamal was a photographer, freelance for the Village Voice and indie mags, with skin like polished mahogany and eyes that caught light like the East River at dawn. They'd locked gazes over the rim of Alex's mug, Jamal snapping candids of the morning rush, and something unspoken sparked, a current that hummed louder than the diner's ancient espresso machine. "Hey, you mind if I steal that scowl for a shot? It's got real grit," Jamal had said, his voice smooth as vinyl soul records, a grin tugging at lips that promised mischief. Alex, who hadn't smiled unforced in months, felt his defenses crack. "Only if you buy the next round," he'd shot back, surprising himself. That led to walks along the promenade at Dumbo, where the Brooklyn Bridge loomed like a steel heartbeat, and late-night talks on fire escapes, sharing stories under strings of Edison bulbs. Jamal spoke of growing up in Bed-Stuy, dodging bullets from gang crossfire, channeling rage into lenses that captured the city's underbelly. Alex confessed his cage of duty, the way family pulled him like gravity, leaving no room for flight. Their first kiss happened on a bench in Prospect Park, cherry blossoms drifting like confetti from some forgotten parade. Jamal's hand cupped Alex's jaw, thumb tracing the stubble he'd forgotten to shave, and when their lips met, soft, tentative, then urgent, the world narrowed to the taste of mint gum and possibility. "I've been waiting for you," Jamal whispered against his skin, and Alex believed him, because in that moment, he let himself. For the first time, love wasn't a ledger of debts. It was a horizon, vast and uncharted. But horizons in Brooklyn came with storm clouds. Elena noticed the glow in Alex's eyes, the way he checked his phone mid-dinner with a secretive smile. "Who's got you grinning like a fool, eh?" she'd tease, ladling extra pernil onto his plate. Alex dodged, mumbling about work buddies. But Maria, sharp as a scalpel even at 22, caught the vibe. "It's a guy, isn't it?" She cornered him one evening in the hallway, her scrubs rumpled from a shift at Mount Sinai. Alex froze, heart slamming like a jackhammer. "Ma doesn't know," he muttered. "And she can't. Not yet." Maria squeezed his arm, her nod fierce. "Your secret's safe, big bro. But Jamal? He looks at you like you're the damn skyline. Tommy, oblivious at 16, idolized Alex anyway. Tagging along to job sites, wide-eyed at the cranes that clawed the sky. You're gonna build something huge one day, Alex, he'd say, handing over a lukewarm Gatorade. Alex ruffled his hair, swallowing the lump in his throat. Huge. He was building walls, not dreams. Walls to keep the family afloat, to shield Elena from the creditors who'd circled like vultures since Dad's split. The letter arrived on a Tuesday, tucked into the mailbox like a venomous snake. Alex had been whistling, as he climbed the stoop, fresh from a weekend at Jamal's cramped loft in Greenpoint, where they'd cooked jerk chicken from a recipe Jamal's abuela swore by, laughing until Dawn painted the windows pink. The envelope was plain, no return address, but the handwriting on the front, blocky, unfamiliar, screamed trouble. He tore it open right there on the steps, rain starting to patter like impatient fingers. It was from St. Agnes Parish, Father O'Malley's signature at the bottom like a guillotine blade. Dear Mr. Rivera, it began, formal as a death notice. It has come to our attention through concerned parties. Alex's vision blurred as he read on. Accusations of immoral conduct, tainting the neighborhood, whispers of his lifestyle, reaching the church elders, demands for a meeting to discuss restitution to the community. Restitution? For what? Loving without apology. His knees buckled, the paper crumpling in his fist as fury ignited. This wasn't random. Someone had talked. Someone close. He stormed inside, the door slamming like Judgment Day. Elena was in the kitchen, humming an old salsa tune over the sizzle of plantains, her back to him as she stirred. Mom, he rasped, holding out the letter like evidence in a trial. She turned, wiping her hands on her apron, and the color drained from her face when she saw it. Alex? What's wrong, Mijo? But her eyes, those sharp, knowing eyes, darted away, guilty as a cornered thief. What the hell have you done? The words exploded from him, raw and ragged, slicing the air between them. Elena's mouth opened, closed, like a fish gasping on the pier. I didn't mean, she stammered. But Alex was already unraveling, the letter fluttering to the floor like a fallen flag. You went to the priest? About me? About Jamal? The betrayal hit like a wrecking ball, splintering the foundation he'd slaved to build. For years, he'd buried his truth to keep her world intact, and now she'd weaponized it, trading his heart for her version of piety. The rain outside swelled to a roar, mirroring the storm inside. Elena reached for him, tears streaking her cheeks, but Alex recoiled, the distance between mother and son widening like a chasm. I thought I was protecting you, she whispered, voice breaking. Protecting? From what happiness? From the one man who'd made him feel seen, not just needed? Alex's phone buzzed in his pocket. Jamal, probably texting about their plans for the weekend, but he couldn't answer. Not now. Not when the family he'd poured his soul into had just poured it back out. That night, sleep evaded him like a fugitive. He paced the narrow confines of his bedroom, posters of Yankee Stadium and faded Mets pennants mocking his unrest. Flashes of memory assaulted him. Elena braiding his hair as a kid, whispering tales of abuelas who danced under moonlit palms. The way she'd sobbed into his shoulder when Dad's goodbye note arrived. A single sheet of notebook paper with "I'm sorry" scrawled in pencil. He'd vowed then to be her anchor, her everything. But anchors dragged you under eventually, and tonight the chain felt like shackles. By dawn, resolve hardened in his chest. He texted Jamal a vague need to talk, then slipped out before the house stirred. The streets of Brooklyn were slick and silver, early commuters hustling past with umbrellas like shields. Jamal met him at a quiet spot by the Gowanus Canal, the water murky under overcast skies, barges groaning like weary ghosts. What's eating you, babe? Jamal asked, pulling him into a hug that smelled of fresh ground coffee and safety. Alex spilled it all, the letter, Elena's confession in halting sobs the night before, how she'd overheard him on the phone with Jamal, twisted it in her fear of what the neighbors would say. Confessed to Father O'Malley in a haze of rosary beads and regret. She thought she was saving my soul, he said bitterly, kicking at a loose pebble that skittered into the canal. Jamal listened, his silence a balm, then cupped Alex's face. Your soul's not hers to save. It's yours, and it's beautiful. They kissed there, fierce and reclaiming, the world fading to the rhythm of their breaths. But peace was fleeting. Back home, the fallout simmered. Maria confronted Elena in the living room, voices rising like steam from a kettle. You outed him, ma? For what? Gossip at bingo night. Tommy hovered in the doorway, confusion etching lines too deep for a boy his age. Elena wept, clutching her crucifix, muttering apologies that dissolved into Spanish prayers. Alex watched from the stairs, torn between rage and the ache of unconditional love. This was his family, flawed as the cracked sidewalks of their block. But blood ran thicker than betrayal? Or did it? Weeks blurred into a tense truce. Alex threw himself into work, framing beams on a high-rise in Midtown, the height a metaphor for the elevation he craved from the mess below. Jamal became his lifeline. Dinners at hole-in-the-wall Ethiopian spots in Harlem, where injera soaked up more than just stews, absorbing the poison of doubt. We're building something real here, Jamal said one night, tracing patterns on Alex's back as they lay tangled in sheets that smelled of them. Alex wanted to believe it, but the letter's shadow lingered, a specter whispering of more fractures to come. Then came the call from St. Agnes. Father O'Malley, voice oily with false concern, inviting Alex to clear the air. Curiosity or masochism drove him there, to the rectory's dim parlor scented with incense and old wood. The priest steepled his fingers, eyes narrowing behind wire-rimmed glasses. Your mother's worried for you, son. This path you're on. It's not too late to turn back. Alex's laugh was hollow, echoing off the stained-glass saints. Turn back to what? A life of pretending? I've done that enough. He left with his head high, but the encounter gnawed, a reminder that Elena's betrayal wasn't isolated. It was the tip of an iceberg carved from generations of silence. Summer descended on Brooklyn like a fever, the air thick with humidity and the sizzle of street vendors hawking elotes slathered in mayo and chili. Alex navigated the heat with Jamal at his side, their bond deepening like roots cracking concrete. They explored hidden gems, the secret garden behind the Brooklyn Museum, where sculptures whispered of forgotten loves. Lazy afternoons at Coney Island, feet buried in sand while the cyclone roared overhead, a thrill mirroring the one in Alex's veins. Jamal's camera captured it all. Alex mid-laugh, wind-tousled and free, the lens stealing moments Elena's judgment couldn't touch. Yet home was a minefield. Dinners grew silent, Elena's eyes avoiding his, her portions smaller as guilt gnawed her appetite. Tommy bridged the gap, chattering about his first crush, a girl from chem class with braces that matched his own, drawing reluctant smiles from the table. Love's weird, huh? The kid said innocently one night, spearing a forkful of flan. Alex met Elena's gaze across the candles, a flicker of shared memory. Her stories of young love in the Bronx, dancing at block parties until the stars wheeled. How had fear twisted that into condemnation? Maria pulled Alex aside after a shift, her face drawn under the fluorescent buzz of the hospital parking lot. She's seeing a therapist now, church recommended, but it's something. Says she's ashamed, but not of you, of herself. Alex leaned against his truck, the metal warm from the sun. Ashamed of loving her own son? Maria sighed, hugging him tight. Give her time, Alex. She's old-school Catholic, raised on fire and brimstone. But you're her heart. Time, though, was a luxury Alex couldn't afford. The high-rise project hit crunch mode, deadlines looming like thunderheads. He pulled extra hours, body aching from dawn to dusk labor, only to collapse into Jamal's arms at night. Their intimacy was a sanctuary, hands mapping scars both visible and not, whispers of futures unbound by obligation. Move in with me, Jamal murmured one evening, as they watched the sunset bleed orange over the skyline from his loft's fire escape. Alex's heart stuttered. And leave them? Ma's barely holding it together. Tommy's got prom coming up, Maria's loans. Jamal's kiss silenced the litany, but the seed planted, germinating in quiet moments. The breaking point came in August, under a sky bruised purple with impending storm. Alex got home early, bone-tired, to find Elena in the living room, rifling through his jacket pockets. She froze when he entered, a faded photo slipping from her fingers. Him and Jamal at the park, arms linked, captured by a passerby's kindness. Mijo, I. Her voice trembled, eyes wide with something raw. Regret? Yes, but laced with a desperation that chilled him. What are you doing? Alex's tone was steel, masking the tremor beneath. Elena straightened, clutching the photo like a talisman. I heard from the church again. They're saying things about you bringing shame on us all. I just wanted to understand. Understand? By invading his privacy? The room spun, years of sacrifices flashing like a montage. The overtime shifts to cover her medical bills after that fall at work. The canceled plans for family vacations he'd funded but never joined. You don't get to understand by betraying me twice. He spat, snatching the photo. First the priest, now this? What's next, Ma? Mailing it to the tabloids. Elena's face crumpled, tears carving rivers down her cheeks. I'm scared, Alex. Scared for your soul. For what this city will do to you. Your father left because he couldn't handle us. What if you leave too? The confession hung heavy, a bombshell detonating the myths Alex had built. Dad hadn't just walked. He'd fled the mess of their lives. Elena's words now implying Alex's queerness was the final straw in some cosmic ledger. You think I'm like him? Alex's voice broke, the wound fresh and gaping. I've given you everything. My youth, my dreams. And you repay me by making me the villain in your story? She reached for him, but he backed away, the space between them a chasm wider than the East River. I love you, Mijo. That's why it hurts. Love? This wasn't love. It was possession, cloaked in piety. Alex stormed out, the doors slam echoing his fracturing world. He drove aimlessly, tires humming over the Brooklyn-Queens expressway, until he found himself at Jamal's, pounding the buzzer like a man possessed. Jamal opened the door, concern etching his brow, and pulled Alex inside without a word. They collapsed onto the couch, Alex's story tumbling out in sobs that racked his frame. She's killing me, Jam. Piece by piece. Jamal held him through the night, rocking gently, his steady heartbeat a counterpoint to the chaos. Then let her go, just a little. You can't save someone who's drowning you. Dawn found them entwined, resolve forging in the quiet. Alex would set boundaries, demand the space to breathe. But boundaries in families were elastic, snapping back with force. The next day, Elena called Maria at work, hysteria pitching her voice. Tell him to come home. Tell him I'm sorry. Maria relayed the plea, but Alex's response was measured. Not yet, sis. I need air. Instead, he threw himself into a surprise for Jamal. A weekend getaway to the Catskills, funded by a bonus he'd squirreled away. They hiked trails lined with maples turning early gold, shared picnics of cheese and prosciutto under waterfalls that roared like release. In a cabin with a stone fireplace, as flames danced shadows on the walls, Jamal proposed. Not rings, but commitment. Be mine, Alex. Fully. No half measures. Tears pricked Alex's eyes. He nodded, sealing it with a kiss that tasted of forever. Return brought reckoning. Tommy's school play, his big break as the lead in Our Town, loomed, and Alex couldn't miss it. The auditorium buzzed with proud parents, Elena in the front row, her smile brittle as she waved him over. Intermission found them side by side, the air thick with unspoken words. You look happy, she ventured, tentative as a truce flag. Alex nodded, throat tight. I am, Ma. With him. Her hand trembled in his, a silent concession. For a moment, the old warmth flickered. Mother and son, unbroken, but cracks spiderwebbed. Whispers from the church ladies reached Maria. Elena had confided more than Alex knew, painting him as confused, seeking prayers for his affliction. Worse, she'd met with a counselor from a disgraced conversion group, the kind band in New York but lurking in shadows. Alex discovered it accidentally, stumbling on a pamphlet in her purse while grabbing keys. Mom's Bridge to Healing. It read, promises of realignment, dripping with poison. Rage boiled anew, hotter than July pavement. Confrontation erupted that evening, the brownstone's walls closing in. You're trying to fix me? Alex hurled the pamphlet at her feet, voice echoing off the crown molding. Elena paled, stammering defenses. It's not like that. I just want you whole. Whole? As if his love for Jamal was a fracture, not a facet. The argument escalated, words like shrapnel. Alex accusing her of hypocrisy, Elena countering with pleas of tradition, of a heaven that demanded sacrifice. Tommy fled to his room. Maria tried mediating, but the dam broke. I've sacrificed enough, Alex roared. For you, for them, for what? To be your project. He packed a bag that night, heart-leaden, and drove to Jamal's under a canopy of stars that offered no comfort. I'm done pretending, he told Jamal, collapsing into his embrace. But what about the family? The question lingered, a ghost in the room. Alex had no answer, only the hollow certainty that survival meant choosing himself. Fall crept in, leaves carpeting the sidewalks in crimson and amber, mirroring the slow bleed of Alex's ties. He visited sporadically, awkward coffees with Elena, where apologies flowed but trust didn't mend. Baseball catch with Tommy in McCarran Park, the kids' throws carrying questions he was too young to voice. Maria became the diplomat, shuttling messages, urging patience. She's trying, Alex. Therapy's cracking her open. But cracks let in light or darkness. Jamal's world became Alex's anchor. Gallery openings where his photos hung like windows to vulnerability. Nights cooking paella with spices from Jamal's mom's recipe. Laughter echoing off exposed brick. Yet doubt whispered. Was this escape or evolution? The high-rise topped out, a gleaming spire against November skies, and Alex stood on the roof during the wrap party, wind whipping his jacket, overlooking the city that had both cradled and crushed him. Jamal found him there, slipping an arm around his waist. Proud of you, he said simply. Alex leaned in, the skyline blurring through unshed tears. For the first time, pride felt possible. Then winter's first snow fell, blanketing Brooklyn in deceptive peace. Elena's call came at midnight, voice fractured over the line. Tommy's hurt, car accident. Come quick. Panic seized Alex, propelling him through slushy streets to Kings County Hospital. The ER was a cacophony of beeps and cries. Maria pacing the hall, eyes red-rimmed. Drunk driver. Broken leg. Concussion. He'll be okay. Relief crashed over Alex, but Elena's presence in the waiting room twisted it. She looked small, diminished, clutching a styrofoam cup like a lifeline. They sat in vigil together, the silence pregnant. When Tommy stirred hours later, groggy but grinning, "Hey, rock star." The tension eased, family knitting in crisis. But as snow swirled outside the window, Elena turned to Alex, her whisper cutting through the hum. I was wrong. About everything. He searched her face, seeing not the betrayer, but the woman who'd raised him fierce. Forgiveness wasn't absolution. It was a bridge, tentative and swaying. Christmas approached like a reluctant guest, string lights twinkling in brownstone windows, the air alive with roasted chestnuts and carols spilling from radios. Alex wrestled with invitations. Should he bring Jamal to the family dinner, force the collision of worlds? Elena's overtures had softened since the accident. Texts with emojis he'd never seen her use. A care package of empanadas left on his truck at the site. Healing takes time, Maria advised over takeout pho in her tiny apartment. But don't wait forever. Alex nodded, the weight of decision pressing like fresh mortar. He chose inclusion. The night before Noche Buena, he invited Jamal over for a trial run, low-stakes tamales and spiked eggnog in Jamal's loft. Nervous, Jamal teased, rolling dough with practiced ease, flour dusting his curls. Alex laughed, the sound foreign but welcome. Terrified, Ma's got a stare that could curdle milk. They rehearsed. Jamal's firm handshake, easy charm, Stories of his own family's Harlem holiday chaos. By midnight, fortified with rum, Alex felt armored. The brownstone hummed with preparation. Elena in the kitchen, directing Maria like a sous chef, Tommy hobbling on crutches with tinsel in his hair. When Alex arrived with Jamal in tow, the air stilled. Elena wiped her hands, stepping forward with a smile that wobbled but held. "Welcome," she said, extending a hand that Jamal took warmly. "Smells incredible in here, Mrs. Rivera. Can I help?" The icebreaker worked. Soon Jamal was chopping onions, trading quips with Tommy about bad holiday movies. While Alex watched, chest expanding with tentative hope, dinner unfolded in fits of warmth. Toasts with coquito that burned sweet down throats, stories of Christmases past. Dad's botched attempt at a tree, toppling into the menorah Elena's Jewish neighbor had gifted. Jamal fit, his laughter weaving into the tapestry. Elena's questions probing but kind. "How'd you get into photography, Mijo?" Jamal's answer, capturing his community's resilience post-Ferguson. Drew nods, Elena sharing her own tales of 80s AIDS vigils at the hospital. Under the table, Alex's hand found Jamal's, fingers lacing in silent victory. But joy's underbelly lurked. As gifts were exchanged, Tommy's handmade coupon for bro time, Maria's spa voucher for Elena, Alex unwrapped a small box from his mother. A Silver Street Christopher medal, patron of travelers. "For your journeys," she murmured, eyes glistening. He clasped it around his neck, the metal cool against skin, but later, in the quiet of the porch, doubt resurfaced. "Was that approval or a prayer for my journey back?" He confided to Jamal, breath fogging in the chill. Jamal pulled him close. "It's progress. Celebrate the steps, not the summit." New Year's brought escalation. The family gathered for a low-key countdown in Times Square. Via TV, thank God, with Elena's famous black-eyed peas for luck. But midway through Dick Clark's Rockin' Eve, the doorbell rang. Father O'Malley, uninvited, coat dusted with snow, clutching a bottle of communion wine like a peace offering. Elena's face lit with guilty relief. She'd invited him, a bridge to understanding. Alex's stomach nodded as the priest settled in, his benedictions laced with scripture that danced too close to condemnation. "Love is patient. Love is kind," O'Malley intoned, eyes on Alex. "But it must align with God's design." The room tensed, Tommy fidgeting, Maria shooting glares. Jamal, ever the diplomat, steered to neutral ground, holiday traditions, but Alex simmered, the metal burning like a brand. When the ball dropped, cheers rang hollow. Alex slipped out to the fire escape, the city's roar a distant thunder. Elena followed, her shawl slipping in the wind. "I thought, if he met you, saw you're good." Her voice trailed, plea unspoken. "You can't broker my happiness through him," Alex said, not unkindly but firm. "This is my life, Ma. Jamal's part of it. Accept that or lose me." The words landed like snowflakes, soft but accumulating. Elena nodded, tears freezing on lashes, and for the first time, Alex saw her not as monolith, but mosaic, pieces of faith, fear, and fierce love clashing. Spring thawed the chill literally and figuratively. Alex's crew broke ground on a community center in Bed-Stuy, a project Jamal had photographed for funding pitches. They volunteered weekends, Alex hauling lumber, Jamal documenting the rise from rubble. Elena joined once, tentative, hammering nails with a grip born of hospital precision. "Feels good. Building something," she admitted, sweat beading on her brow. Alex grinned, handing her a water. "Yeah, feels like home." But betrayal's echo lingered, amplified by an anonymous email to Alex's foreman. "Unfit worker. Moral hazard." The accusation, veiled but clear, cost him a shift, whispers rippling through the crew. Paranoia pointed to the church circle, Elena's loose lips in confession. Confrontation was inevitable, exploding over Sunday brunch at a diner near the projects. Greasy spoons and bottomless coffee fueling the fire. "You talked again? After everything?" Alex's fork clattered, drawing stares. Elena flushed, defensive. "It slipped in vulnerability. I didn't name names." Slipped? Like the photo, the pamphlet? The dam burst. Alex unloading years of resentment. The dreams deferred. The closet he'd built brick by brick for her sake. I chose you over me, Ma. Every time. And you chose judgment. She recoiled as if slapped, but fired back. I chose survival. For all of us. Your father broke us. I couldn't let you break us too. The diner blurred. Maria ushering Tommy out. Jamal's text buzzing unread. Elena's final card. Maybe I did betray you, but blood's thicker than choice. Alex stood, chair scraping like a verdict. Not when it cuts. He walked into the budding cherry blossoms, heart a war zone, wondering if family was cage or cocoon. Isolation followed, a self-imposed exile. Alex crashed at Jamal's full-time, the loft a haven of exposed beams and possibility. They dreamed aloud. A joint photo exhibit on queer resilience in NYC, Alex apprenticing in sustainable builds. We're unstoppable, Jamal said, framing Alex's face in the morning light. But nights brought ghosts. Elena's voicemails pleading, Tommy's texts with memes to coax a smile. Maria's intervention came via a park bench ambush, coffee steaming between them. She's falling apart, Alex. Therapy's unearthed stuff. Dad's affairs, her own doubts about faith. You're the scapegoat, but she loves you. Love. The word twisted, multifaceted as the city itself. Alex returned, not for absolution, but conversation. A raw, tear-streaked sit-down in the living room, boxes of old photos scattered like evidence. Elena confessed. The fear rooted in her youth, shunned for an interracial fling. The church's crutch after Dad's abandonment. I projected my shame onto you, but seeing you with Jamal. It's joy, Mijo. Real joy. Alex listened, walls crumbling, and shared his own scars. The isolation of hidden love, the terror of loss. Betrayal cut deep, Ma. But I want to heal. With you. The truce held through summer's swelter, tentative dates. Elena meeting Jamal for coffee, her questions evolving from wary to warm. He makes you light up, she admitted one evening, as they strolled the promenade, bridge lights winking. Alex squeezed her hand. He does. And you can too, if you let go. Climax brewed in September, leaves tinged with warning. The community center's gala opening loomed, a celebration of rebirth. Alex invited the family, Elena accepting with a dress she'd splurged on. Emerald silk that echoed her spirit. But days before, scandal erupted. Leaked emails from the church, O'Malley's rants against deviant influences in the neighborhood. Elena named as source in veiled terms. The backlash hit like a nor'easter. Protests at St. Agnes. Elena's job threatened by patient complaints. She called Alex in hysterics, voice muffled by sobs. It's all unraveling. Because of me. He raced to the brownstone, finding her curled on the couch, crucifix clutched white-knuckled. I told him, after our talk, confessed my wrongs, begged forgiveness for you. O'Malley's response? Weaponized it, twisting her remorse into ammunition for his crusade. Betrayal's second wave, deeper because self-inflicted. Alex held her, rocking as fury warred with pity. You chose truth, Ma. That's brave. But bravery had costs. The family fractured under scrutiny. Tommy bullied at school, Maria fielding calls at work. Jamal rallied, his photos of the center going viral, drawing allies from queer advocacy groups. Together, they faced the storm. Press conferences where Alex spoke of love's quiet revolutions, Elena standing silent but solid beside him. The gala night arrived under clearing skies, the center aglow with lanterns and laughter. Elena arrived last, head high, accepting handshakes from strangers who'd read the headlines. As Alex cut the ribbon, Jamal's arm around his waist. Her eyes met his across the crowd. Pride, unshadowed. Later, on the rooftop, city sprawl at their feet, she pulled him aside. I'm proud of you, Mijo, for forgiving, for fighting. Tears mingled with hers. We're fighting together now. Autumn deepened, gilding the edges of pain into something bearable. The scandal faded like old newsprint. O'Malley sidelined by Diocese Review, Elena's nursing shifts resuming with cautious support from colleagues. She dove into ally work, PFLAG meetings in the parish basement. Once hallowed ground, now a space for reckoning. It's humbling, she told Alex over coffee at a queer-owned cafe in Park Slope. Rainbow flags fluttering like banners of belonging. Learning I was wrong doesn't erase the hurt I caused, but it honors the love left. Alex absorbed it, the medal around his neck a talisman now of journeys shared, not solitary. Jamal's exhibit launched to acclaim, Hearts of the Boroughs, portraits of LGBTQ plus New Yorkers. Alex's face among them. Raw, radiant, unapologetic. Elena attended the opening, her presence a quiet statement, chatting with artists whose stories echoed her son's. You look at him like I should have, she told Jamal afterward, voice thick. Keep him shining. Family rhythms realigned. Imperfect but resilient. Tommy's cast came off. His throws in the park sure. Questions about Alex's boyfriend met with shrugs and grins. As long as he treats you right, bro. Maria thrived, graduating top of her class, dedicating her speech to the unsung builders in our lives. Elena beamed from the audience, Alex at her side, Jamal capturing the moment through his lens. Yet depth demanded testing. Winter returned, snow blanketing the brownstone in hush. Elena's health faltered. A slipped disc from years of lifting patience, surgery looming like a shadow. Alex cleared his schedule, Jamal too, turning the recovery room into a rotation of care. Broth simmered with adobo, Jamal's playlists of Motown soul to soothe her fretful sleep. In the sterile quiet of Mount Sinai, Elena gripped Alex's hand post-op, monitors beeping like a lullaby. If I don't wake, she whispered, eyes fierce. No, I love you. All of you. No conditions. You'll wake, ma, and we'll keep talking, keep growing. She nodded, drifting off, and Alex sat vigil, Jamal's head on his shoulder, the weight shared lightened. Spring bloomed triumphant, cherry blossoms carpeting the promenade in pink confetti. Alex proposed to Jamal there, on the same bench of their first kiss, not with fanfare, but a simple band of woven silver, engraved with horizons. Jamal's yes was a vow, tear-streaked and sure. They told the family at a backyard barbecue, Elena's grill smoking with burgers and morales. Cheers erupted, Tommy whooping, Maria toasting with sangria. Elena pulled them both into a hug, her whisper for Alex alone. You gave me everything, Mijo. Now give yourself this. The wedding was a mosaic of them. June in Prospect Park, under a canopy of oaks, guests a tapestry of Brooklyn's soul. Puerto Rican flags waving beside rainbow sashes. Elena's abuela's veil draped over Jamal's shoulders. Vows exchanged with the skyline as witness. Alex promising to build, not just survive. Jamal to capture, not just observe. Elena's toast cracked voices. Family isn't blood alone. It's the choices we make to hold each other up. I almost lost mine once. Never again. Months later, as summer waned, Alex stood on the brownstone stoop, surveying the life he'd reclaimed. The high-rise gleamed distant, a monument to endurance. Jamal's camera clicked nearby, stealing a candid of Elena and Tommy planting window boxes, marigolds nodding in breeze. Maria waved from her car, off to her residency in Boston, a duffel of empanadas in the passenger seat. Elena joined him, hip-bumping his. Proud? She asked, echoing old rituals. Alex smiled, arm around her shoulders. Every day, the betrayal scar remained. A faint line, teaching resilience, but it bound them deeper, a reminder that love's true test was forgiveness, not perfection. In the end, Alex had given everything, yes, but in reclaiming himself, he'd given his family a mirror. To see, to evolve, to love without ledger. Brooklyn pulsed around them, a heartbeat of grit and grace, and for the first time, Alex felt not just the rock, but the river, flowing free.